Hello, Star Trek fans. Welcome to ReBingeIT. This is the ReBinge Star Trek Voyager podcast. My name is Kim.
And my name is James.
And my name's Attiba.
And we are rebinging Star Trek Voyager from the beginning, one episode at a time. Welcome back to the podcast. Today we are on Season 4, Episode 8, Year of Hell, Part 1. This episode aired November 5th, 1997. Before we talk about what happened last week, let me welcome Attiba Royster back to the podcast. Welcome, Attiba.
Thank you. Always great to spend some time with you guys.
Any big news to share with us since the last time we spoke?
Well, some big news. I launched a Kickstarter for a graphic novel anthology about vampires.
Nice.
People should back that.
Absolutely.
Okay. I think the last time we talked, we did... Was it Blood Fever? Was that the last episode? Okay. We are on the other end of the spectrum with quality episodes with this one today. So, I mean, that's the good news. Very happy to be doing a good one finally.
I can't believe you chose Blood Fever over the dinosaur episode.
They were both very strong candidates.
I don't know. We really liked the dinosaur episode. I'm not sure if it's because there were just so many bad ones that led up to it. And all of a sudden it was like, oh my God, a good episode. But that one rated really high for us in the season. And Blood Fever was either the bottom episode or the next to the bottom between the two of us. So yeah, we did not enjoy it.
And I just have to say, going through this rewatch with you, I was shockingly surprised and pleased at how solid the season 4 episodes are so far. There's not really
agreed.
A terrible one in the bunch. I mean, aside from how are we going to shoehorn 7 into this episode, the stories have been really strong.
Yeah, I think only the one where B'Elanna and Tom were floating in space
Day of Honor.
got a neutral. Yeah, Day of Honor. But even that one had good parts to it. We were just mad because Tom was the world's worst boyfriend in that episode. And he told B'Elanna she was boring, like her problems were boring. It's like, oh my God. But other than that, yes, the episodes have been very good.
Yeah, I think for any listeners, good relationship advice is when your girlfriend is having an existential crisis, describing it as boring is not a good approach.
No, it's not a good way to keep the relationship going.
I have to say, I rely on Star Trek for all my relationship advice.
Oh, jeez.
I watch what happens on that show, and then I do the exact opposite. And it's worked out fine.
Okay. Yeah, that's a good idea. Yeah, it's a very good idea.
Maybe I've been reading it all wrong. Miles and Keiko is a warning, not a method of conducting a relationship.
No, don't do that.
No.
Don't shuffle your wife off to a cargo bay somewhere to get out of your way for a while.
Never to be seen again.
Oh dear.
Oh my God. Well, before we talk about Year of Hell, last week's episode was a scientific method, and that was the one where the aliens were experimenting on the Voyager crew in a sort of horror movie slant. And the fun part of that episode to me was at the end, Janeway was just like, I'll kill all of us if you don't get off my ship. I don't care. Which is a truly appropriate reaction to a migraine that's been lasting for weeks because she's got the metal things in the side of her head. But yeah, that was like another example of how crazy Janeway can be.
That episode I thought was outstanding. I thought it was a really good premise. I loved the horror aspect of it.
Yeah.
There are these aliens amongst you that are experimenting on you and you don't even know.
And you can't see them. Yeah, it was pretty good.
I kind of like the emergence of Dark Janeway. She's starting to...
Yeah, I mean, in the beginning, it seemed like she was going to be the by-the-book captain, but that book got burned, shot with one of her giant phaser guns, thrown out into space. I mean, she does crazy stuff. When she tried to make the alliance with Borg, that was insanity.
Yep.
But, here we are, and we're going to bring out Crazy Janeway in this episode as well. Not right away, but I can sense it's coming.
It's on the way.
Yeah.
But this is what I love about Janeway. She is the true frontier captain.
Mm-hmm.
She has a set of rules and regulations, and they are great when they apply. And when she thinks they don't, she is making them up on the spot. This truly is back to Kirk.
Well, somewhere along the way, and I think it was in Scorpion, she switched from being the captain who is trying to keep up the ideals to being the captain who is going to do whatever it took to save the crew. And it's just like, it didn't matter if they forged an alliance with the Borg that might cause millions of people to die. It doesn't matter because I'm going to get this crew home. I'm not going to fail. And it's like, I'm not sure that's the right thing to do, but she's doing it and it's fun to watch.
Keep this in your head, but that might become a plot point later.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I've said it many times. I don't remember much about Voyager, even though I 100% watched it.
Kim was actually asking me about what happens in part 2 of Year of Hell.
Because I don't remember. But, I mean, I remember the episode generally. Yeah. Like, none of this was a surprise because it was so good. But I don't remember how it ends.
In the second half of Year of Hell, you get Halloween, Thanksgiving is there, Christmas, in the second half of the year.
Makes sense. That makes sense. Well, should we get started on this one? James, I'm sure you have a lot of notes.
Yes, so. I'm afraid I might have a lot of notes. I've tried not to put every line of dialogue in here.
Okay.
We open on a pleasant-looking city by a river. At least a pretty good map painting of one.
Nice painting.
Yeah.
Very nice.
Yes.
It probably looked amazing in standard def.
Mm-hmm.
And we have the caption, Day 1. And if you notice, it appears there's like a monorail in the city on the bottom left corner. Mm-hmm. So either we're very futuristic.
Yeah, all futuristic cities have to have a monorail. It's the rules.
Or it's Springfield.
Oh,
yeah.
Right.
It was definitely the rule in the 90s that a futuristic city would have a monorail.
We cut to a very cool-looking spaceship, and it fires some kind of beam at the city, and it all fades away into woodland and countryside. Now on a control panel, a humanoid alien is reporting temporal incursion complete. All organisms and man-made objects have been eradicated. Not something that nice people do, so...
I would just like to point out that plants are in fact organisms, just to be a stickler.
And we see Kurtwood Smith is in command.
Would the good listeners all know who Kurtwood Smith is?
Yeah, we'll get to it.
Apparently, their target event has not been achieved, and this minion is pretty unhappy with the result. Kurtwood tells him, time is patient, and so we must be patient with it. Eradicating a single Zal colony wasn't enough for total restoration, and he orders the minion, take us to the Zal homeworld. We must erase the entire species from time. And into the opening credits.
Such a good opening. So, the two actors in this scene, Kurtwood Smith is the one you mentioned, so people should know him. Well, first of all, he was on Star Trek before, and I'm sure one of you is going to want to talk about that, but he's maybe the best known for that 70s show where he played Red. This, though, is before the 70s show, but it is after RoboCop, and he was also, I think, pretty well known for RoboCop.
For me, he is Clarence Boddicker.
I guess it just depends on whether Gen X or a millennial.
Yeah.
Good point. Yeah.
I think that's true. Yeah. But also, he's been in close to 200 things, so you could have seen him in almost anything. Yeah, he's a very familiar face. I think he was born in Wisconsin. I find that funny because he really does give off sort of a Midwest vibe, but somehow he's in these science fiction shows, right? And he's really, really good.
Oh, he played one of the truly great villainous criminals of the 80s.
Yeah, that's very true. He was also in Deep Space Nine, by the way.
Right, he was the Federation president. No.
Not in Deep Space Nine. In Deep Space Nine, he was in the one episode where Odo basically takes everybody back to his history. They all kind of go in his mind to something that happened back on the station.
Oh,
and I think he's playing Thrax, I think was the name of his character.
Right.
But then it turns out that he didn't really exist. I mean, not in that timeline. He was like the previous head of station security, but Odo's mind was playing a trick on him and trying to blame what he had done on that character, but it was really his fault. He was the one who killed the resistance fighters.
Yeah.
So he's been around. And then the other guy, John Loprino, I know him because he was on many, many soap operas. He was on One Life to Live for a long time, and he was on As the World Turns for a long time. So I view him as such a soap opera. And he's got this super deep voice, which is perfect. And he's got the perfect look for a 90s soap.
Another great piece of that soap opera to Star Trek pipeline.
Yeah. Yep. We haven't seen it as much on Voyager as we did on Deep Space Nine, but we've definitely seen it.
I think this was the downturn of the soap in 97 or so.
No, not yet.
No?
I think more so into the 2000s when they started to sort of go south, and then because they were still pretty alive and kicking, maybe for the first 5 or 6 years of the 2000s. But yeah, and there's still a few of them that exist, but they are fading out of existence.
Interestingly, in this opening, we don't get to hear the names of any of who these people are. We just see they're
True.
sort of in uniform, so they're clearly some kind of military.
Mm-hmm.
But I think we get almost to the end of the episode before we find out who Kurtwood Smith plays.
Like an actual character name.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
he says it to Janeway later.
Back from the credits, and we're at the grand unveiling of the new astrometrics lab. It's quite an event with all the senior staff. Seven has the honor of turning it on, and she announces they've plotted a new course home, taking 5 years off the journey. B'Elanna asks about the area of space they're about to enter, which Seven calls Spatial Grid 005, with a primary species called the Zal. However, I do think it's really bad form for Seven to refer to the Zal as their resistance quotient is quite low.
Yeah, she does say that.
Yeah, somebody should talk to her about using Borg terminology. Might upset a few people.
I don't know. Tuvok's always yelling at people about how illogical they are.
That's true.
Oh, as you saying Seven could shout at people, you would be easily assimilated.
I mean, yeah.
She kind of said that to Neelix, right? In the last episode, yeah.
Oh, he'd make a good drone.
Oh,
Yeah.
she didn't say that to Neelix. She doesn't lie.
No. No. She just said, we assimilated you. We should note here 2 things. One, Janeway has a different hairstyle. We haven't seen it. It's much shorter. It's been a long time since we talked about Janeway's hair. It was a big thing in the beginning as they tried to figure out what worked. And then they settled on that sort of ponytail thing that she did. But now, yeah, her hair is much shorter. And I think probably a little bit more of a modern style for that time period.
Yeah.
And then the other thing is Seven is now back in the brown outfit from episode 3. We went to a different outfit last week, and then now she's switched again. So this I think just shows that these episodes aren't necessarily in the order that they recorded them.
Yeah. Before they leave, the Doctor interrupts the ceremony by launching into a speech, which is ridiculously over melodramatic. And just when everyone thinks it's over, he starts on the next part. We clearly see he likes the sound of his own voice.
Yeah. He needs a podcast.
Oh, definitely.
Mm-hmm.
Fortunately, Janeway is called to the bridge, and they all escape. Off to the bridge, and on the view screen, we see a small ship firing on Voyager. Tuvok assesses it as low warp, limited weapons, and posing no threat. Janeway hails, and a humanoid alien, who looks exactly like the guys from the opening, tells her she should retreat. This area is in dispute, and they have no business in Krenim space. He seems really squirrely. He's like really overly agitated.
I actually love Janeway's. She just comes in and she's like, have we offended you in some way? Just like,
Yes.
she's so used to getting fired on by random aliens.
Yes. But she also has this, why is this ant throwing dust at me?
She has that look, doesn't she? Well, he makes some more grandiose threats, and graciously, Janeway offers to negotiate. But then he gets even more agitated, saying, no discussion, no compromise. I think they need to keep him on decaf. He's quite clearly a little bit over the edge.
Well, where do you think this attitude comes from? Is it something that, like, he's remembering from a different version of history? Or, why is he like this? He's acting like he can take this ship on.
I think it's just bravado, that they think that they should own this space. Later on, we learn it was only a generation ago. So maybe there's a lot of people living in the past if we were once this great empire.
That's true.
Despite all the threats, he and his ship retreat. We go to a space shot of Voyager and 2 Zal ships. On board, Janeway is meeting with the Zal ambassador, and he promises safe passage through Zal territory, describing Voyager as friends. He even goes as far as apologizing for the Krenim. I don't know. He seems a bit too friendly for the Delta Quadrant. I'm pretty sure they're going to try and rob Voyager any minute now.
I mean, look, they can't all be jerks. There have got to be some nice guys in Delta, right? I mean...
But it is suspicious.
Yeah.
Okay.
He's very friendly. That's never been, true in this quadrant.
Yeah, that's true. That is true.
Yeah.
Everybody's, like, recovering from trauma from the Borg, I think, is what it is.
Mm-hmm.
Well, the ambassador explains the Kremen were once powerful, but they were defeated a generation ago and their military dismantled. Their ship still wanders Zal territory, making grandiose claims, and the meeting is interrupted by the Kremen vessel returning. On the bridge, the same guy as earlier is on view screen, raving about how Voyager is consorting with their enemy. Janeway tries to calm the situation, but Harry reports a huge spatial distortion is approaching Voyager. Tuvok tracks the origin to a vessel near the Zal homeworld, describing it as a massive buildup of temporal energy, some kind of space-time shockwave. Janeway orders shields and issues one of the great Captain commands. All hands brace for impact. I don't know, I just love it when she says that.
She says brace for impact, I think, a couple of times in this episode. She does. Yeah.
Cut to an effect shot of the shockwave passing over the Zal ships, which just disappear. And as the wave passes over the Krenim ship, we see it transform from a sad, small little ship to a much larger and way cooler looking one. That kind of reminds me of the Defiant, the way it's sort of its shape.
Oh. Mm-hmm.
On Voyager's bridge, the Zal ambassador just disappears. And we see the bridge now has some damage, and one of the crew is dead on the floor. Tuvok reports the Krenim ship is firing again, and on screen we see the same Krenim captain, but this time he's a lot more confident, and even seems a little arrogant. He demands Janeway submit to the Krenim Imperium, surrender now, and he'll forego the execution of her crew. Oh, what a nice guy.
What a sweet guy.
But it's interesting here that they don't seem to notice that the guy who was on the bridge disappeared.
Yes.
And also the crew member who's dead, Janeway just steps over her okay, let's get back to business.
Can someone clear this away? Yeah.
Yeah, that's not what happened in the last episode when those invisible aliens killed a crew member. That's what sent her over the edge. So you feel like you kind of missed something. And when you're first watching it, you're like, what the heck? What just happened? But then you learn later why they missed everything.
This is very reminiscent of yesterday's Enterprise in TNG.
Where everything just changed.
Yeah, and all of a sudden Tasha Yar is standing on the bridge again.
Yep. Oh, I should go watch that episode.
Well, Janeway's having none of this and orders all hands battle stations.
My notes say about that guy, bigger ship, bigger attitude.
Well, yeah. Taking the captain's chair, she announces, this is turning into the week of hell.
Mm-hmm.
Back from the ad break, they're still in battle with the Krenim. Chakotay can't figure out why their Krenim torpedoes are ripping through the shield. And to prove the point, we see a space shot of the Krenim warship taking another potshot at Voyager. Interestingly, the effect shot here of the Krenim torpedo hitting Voyager and exploding, this is the exact moment in Before and After that Janeway and B'Elanna get killed at the console in the Kes timeline.
Yep. But they're not standing at the console. They're in a whole different location.
And Kes isn't there.
Yep.
So on the positive side, Janeway and B'Elanna are still alive.
Yeah, but it is strange, or at least interesting in the story, that we never talk about Kes warning us. We were surprised by all of this, but Kes knew about the Krenim, supposedly updated Janeway about them, but we don't mention her.
I have this as an over-analysis point, but yes, let's talk about it now. The whole reason Kes was thrown around through time was because of the Krenim torpedo and her exposure to it.
Which we're also going to see eventually in this episode,
And wouldn't she debrief Janeway on everything she knew? Especially the fact that they were going to run into the Krenim and she knew about the Year of Hell and she'd experienced it.
Yep.
Janeway does not strike me, certainly at this point, as someone who isn't going to leverage future knowledge to save her ship.
I mean, I imagine it's the episodic nature of Star Trek that they don't want to mention it. But, I mean, they could have just made a simple reference to it, like, this is the thing we were warned about. Just something simple like that, but we don't do that at all. We're going to see that torpedo from that episode, and then, this shot was exactly the same. So it's almost weird that we don't mention it.
Right. Because I actually went back and watched all the Krenim bits from Before and After.
Well, this was supposed to air a lot closer to that episode, right?
Yeah.
That was the other thing.
Tuvok determines the weapons are chronoton-based. They penetrate the shields because they're in a state of temporal flux.
And she told us that.
Yeah. I hate it when things are in a state of temporal flux.
Oh, God. Totally.
Janeway orders Tom to run away, and they've picked up a lot of damage. And of course, the computer is offline. Now, are Starfleet computers valve-based, aka vacuum tubes? Soon as anything starts shaking, the computer goes offline.
Maybe.
Well, just remember that Voyager has bioneural gel packs, so
shook them up.
Maybe they just need to be petted and stroked and appropriately.
Can somebody talk calmly to the gel pack so they calm down?
Exactly.
But there's no repercussions to the computer being offline because everything still seems to be working and they're getting all the information they need. So I was like, is it really offline? What's offline exactly?
Janeway puts the ship on 24-hour tactical alert and orders Tuvok to see if he can modify the shielding so when the Krenim attack again, they'll be ready. Okay, over-analysis point. Why are you not retracing your steps and getting the hell out of there?
Yeah. Good question.
You're flying through this area of space with a hostile race. You really shouldn't be there. Just 2 weeks ago with the Bomar, they were respectful of Bomar territory and avoided it. And Janeway actually says, well, we're going to be going the long way round because they couldn't get permission and kind of annoyed them with 7 and all that.
Right.
So why here when you have a significantly more aggressive race? Aren't you just noping out of there?
I wonder if what we don't know because of the change to the timeline, right?
Yeah.
We don't know how far in they are. They might be at this point so deep in it that it just makes sense to keep going. But I think that's a legitimate question. Yeah. Why aren't we getting the heck out of there? Or why isn't our focus just to get as far away from them as we can? Because we're unable to fight them.
Right. Oh, so I like that idea. Maybe they don't actually know where the borders are.
They show the thing in the astrometrics lab, right? That was earlier.
Yeah.
So they should know.
I was going to say, they have this cool new astrometric labs, which can also determine political boundaries as well. It's an incredible piece of technology.
It's a miracle.
I assume where they found the boundaries, they were just making an estimation of if it was a Krenim colony, then put it within the Krenim. I guess, can the astrometrics lab, this new scanning technology, actually determine the race of the people on there?
I mean, it should be able to.
Bit of a hand wave, but I'll go with it.
If it's got access to Borg data on the area, it might.
Oh.
Good point.
Yeah, the Borg might have more detailed maps. Yeah, good one.
I think they're just in the middle of something and can't get out. That's my view.
Yeah. Cut to the giant spacecraft, as Kim describes as, that thing is ridiculous. It's just a ball.
There's a big ball, and then it's got, like, tentacles. It's a strange ship.
It's very reminiscent, certainly for me, of the Diviner's Rev 12 ship from Prodigy.
Mm-hmm. Similar.
And I do feel we didn't get any really great flybys of Kurtwood's ship. I think we could have done it with a few more of those.
No, we just get one, really, at this point.
Off to Kurtwood, and he's sitting holding a lock of hair in a pyramid case. And the underling from earlier reports the Zal homeworld was the focal point. Its erasure produced a complete temporal restoration.
Perfectly normal to walk in on your boss holding a lock of hair.
In a little pyramid thing, yeah.
Mm-hmm. In a case, like a little shrine to somebody. Yeah. Totally normal. Nothing to see here.
However, it turns out that really it was only a 98% restoration. Kurtwood gets a little bit annoyed at his minion for his lack of accuracy, and I kind of agree with Kurtwood here. That's not really complete. It's more of a pretty close.
Pretty close, yeah.
Kurtwood maybe should have suggested a rounding error that he's prepared to accept.
I don't think he is prepared to accept a rounding error.
He's clearly not.
Yeah, because he's like, we have forever to keep trying over and over until it's perfect. Like, what?
Yeah.
Well, the minion informs him the Krenim race is thriving and the Imperium is back. I do feel the minion should have come in here and said, "We're back, baby."
Sure.
Kurtwood asks about a colony on Kayana Prime, and the underling reports, no, in this timeline, the Imperium does not extend that far. Kurtwood is immediately not pleased, describing the mission as having failed and ordering calculations for the next incursion. Well, the underling isn't happy about this, cautioning that another incursion could undermine everything. They should dismantle the weapon and return to their people. Kurtwood's not interested. He won't stop until every colony, every blade of grass is restored. And apparently, they've been doing this for 200 years and have never come this close. But Kurtwood dismisses this as simply not close enough.
We learn here that they're protected, right, from the passage of time in this ship, so they can do it forever.
Right.
But everybody's getting a little antsy about forever.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, this guy tells Kurtwood there's an animosity amongst the crew, that they think that Kurtwood is aiming for unrealistic perfection. And we do learn the underling's name is Oberst. He cautions Kurtwood they'll never restore 100% of what they had. They could continue for another 10 centuries, and it will never happen. And this is where Kurtwood reminds Oberst that on this vessel, they're protected from space-time. They have all eternity to complete their mission.
But it turns out it's not the passage of time that affects morale.
Yes.
Because he seems to think, because the time's not passing, we're just going to do this forever. And everybody on the ship's going to be just fine with that.
Mm-hmm.
This is where I think it's great. You're already seeing in this that Kurtwood's character is obsessed with perfection,
Right.
probably unrealistically. And even if you're outside of time and you're not aging, you've still been doing this for 200 years. And if your future is, we're going to end up doing this for all eternity and I will never die, that's...
Yeah. I will be in charge forever.
Yeah, I think that would really have a hit on the morale, especially when what you saw here, they've almost back to 98% of what they had. And still, that's not enough.
Yep. And did we tell everybody that we were at 98%? Because they are going to riot.
There's probably not a lot worse than a wildly obsessive boss with unrealistic goals.
Oh,
who will never die.
Who will never die, get fired, retire.
I'm actually shocked they hung in there for 200 years, honestly.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, boss is going to boss, right? This is what we're going to do.
Here comes the new boss, same as the old boss. Oh, wait a minute. It's still the old boss. He's never going away.
Yeah, it's literally same as the old boss.
Mm-hmm. I can't imagine having the same boss for 200 years and not losing my mind.
Day 32, and Voyager is taking more weapons hits. We see the bridge is a bit beaten up, with debris all over the place. Tuvok's attempting to modify the shielding was unsuccessful. Weapons are offline, and the doctor calls with news. There's a power overload in sickbay. Harry reports the overload is spreading. The deck is going to blow in 5 minutes. Janeway has a plan. She's going to deploy photon torpedoes as mines. The doctor is now hurrying to evacuate the deck as Nigel Roddenberry announces, structural collapse in 3 minutes. Janeway lets the Krenim ship get close to Voyager, and Tuvok ejects the torpedoes. They drift straight into the Krenim vessel, blowing it to pieces. Finally, a win for a change.
Tom was very excited.
But don't worry, it won't last.
Did we really need to use 4? I mean, it looks like maybe 2 would have done the job.
Yeah, when they only have 11 left at this point.
Mm-hmm, yeah. That's a big hit.
Forgetting, do they have a finite amount of photon torpedoes, or are they able to replenish their supply of them?
They imply they have a finite amount,
early on.
But we go way over that number in the series, so we're going to assume they either borrow some from other cultures or
obtain them,
take them, or take them. Well, because there was a time early on where they got somebody else's shuttle, so did they then start using that as their shuttle?
Oh,
I mean,
well, I'm just convinced they just have an infinite supply of shuttles. That's just how Voyager operates.
That's what we decided, because on Prodigy, that's how it works. Yeah. They have a replicator that just keeps making them.
Yes, Kim headcanoned her way out of that.
Got it.
Right. Because Prodigy is just part 2 Voyager, so.
The evacuating crew have made it through the bulkhead as the doctor holds the door open, and we get a 10-second countdown. 2 crew still left behind are running for the door, but as the countdown hits 1, the doctor pulls it shut, trapping them inside. And outside the already damaged Voyager, explosions ring the saucer section as the deck ruptures.
That was totally cool.
That really hurt. I honestly found that kind of painful to watch. The ship, the crew were too slow. It was their own fault. The beaten up ship getting even more beaten up was terrible.
Mm-hmm.
Tuvok reports 12 crew injured, some critically, 2 killed in the breach, and they've lost sickbay. Tossing a piece of wreckage aside, Janeway heads to her ready room, giving Chakotay the bridge, saying, "What's left of it?" Also tough to watch. The way Janeway seems to actually, I think for the first time, to be a little deflated when she said that.
Yeah. And there's just crap everywhere.
Oh, yeah. In Janeway's ready room, it's a disaster. Total mess, and there are even fallen roof beams, so you know it's bad.
Pretty bad.
Chakotay joins her, saying how it reminds him of his dorm at Starfleet Academy.
Jeez.
What the hell were you doing?
Total destruction.
Yeah. He points out how the temporal shielding isn't working, and Janeway insists it will work. After each attack, they get more information on the chronoton weapons. He points out, before long, there won't be much of a ship left to protect. Chakotay's plan is to abandon Voyager, leave it in shuttles and escape pods. They'll rendezvous on the other side of Krenim space. He points out they'll at least be increasing their chances of survival. But Janeway is not prepared to abandon ship. She's not splitting up the family, saying they're stronger as a team. One crew, one ship. We make our stand together. As long as Voyager is in one piece, we stay. Amongst the debris, Chakotay finds Janeway's lucky teacup. She puts it on her desk as another Krenim attack starts, and they head to the bridge. And in a great piece of symbolism, rocked by the shaking of the attack, the teacup falls from the desk and shatters.
Is Voyager still in one piece? She's like, as long as we're in one piece, we're going to stick together. Okay.
Well, it's in one piece, but it just has a lot of holes in it. And most of Deck 5 is unusable. Now, do we want to talk here about how Janeway seems to be a little wildly reckless? They're following a plan that is simply not working. They may never learn how the chronoton weapons work. And their one accurate or lucky hit from Voyager being toast, and then all the crew are going to be executed by the Krenim. Has she lost her mind?
I think what she's showing is if there is any, what she views as reasonable piece of hope that she can cling to, she is not going to back down. And she has shown us a couple of times that she will burn down the universe to save the crew. And I think she's still in that mode. She still thinks these shields they're talking about, that is that last piece of hope. If they come back and find they can't do the shields, although how long will she wait? Until they're all dead? I don't know.
That's Chakotay's point, yeah.
But I do think that's what she's clinging to. It's like, no, there's still one little piece of hope. And until I don't have that hope anymore, we're going to stick together. Because as soon as we abandon ship, we're done. That's the way she's looking at it.
That part I agree with. But I think the turn tail, trace the route you came from, and get out of there as fast as you physically can. That's what you should be looking at right now.
But we didn't even talk about that.
Yeah.
I mean,
it's, if you have to go 3 months around or 6 months around to get outside of Krenim space and avoid them, that versus you all being killed and how many other crew members are going to die on this is probably a better approach.
Yeah, but again, I don't know that they can actually go backwards.
Yeah.
If they went backwards, they might all, be in the same situation and refighting all the same battles because all those ships, as far as they know, those ships are all still there. So I don't know that going back is a possibility anymore. Yeah. And that's not what Chuckles suggests here, right? He's basically like, let's all just get off this ship.
Let's go in shuttles and they can pick us off one by one more easily.
I just have a quick question, though. Just in the recent run of episodes, which one of these was the commander of a terrorist organization? Just trying to see if I can remember.
Definitely Chuckles.
Okay, that's what I thought. I'm just making sure, because he seems to be the guy that wants to play it safe all the time. He's turned into old Riker now.
Oh.
Well, don't you think, though, it's because he's the one, that's his role. His role here is to say sort of, the more reasonable ideas that Janeway is not seeing. I think that's his job.
I don't know that that is initially his job. I think that's become his job because Janeway has become...
Because she's crazy.
Yeah, she's become more and more, I'll say, reckless as as things have progressed. Yeah.
So the leader of a freedom-fighting group ends up being the reasonable one.
Yes.
Well, I would argue he never really made sense in that group, but they haven't really explained it very well of why he did it. He did it, right, because he was trying to pay tribute to his father, but did he really have it in his heart what he was doing? I don't know. Chakotay's a mess.
He was no Eddington.
Yeah, he was no Eddington. That is true.
Day 47, and Voyager looks more like flying wreckage than the spaceship.
Oh, it gets worse every time they show it.
Oh, yeah. We have spent a lot of time following this ship and getting invested in it, and just seeing it just beaten to crap is very tough. We go to Harry and B'Elanna, who are trapped in a turbo lift. They're playing a game of trivia, and B'Elanna is badly injured. Seven comes to the rescue, prying the turbo lift doors open, and there's a little bit of humor, as the last trivia question Harry asked was about the first warp ship, and Seven correctly knows its name, the Phoenix, saying, "The Borg were present during those events." It's a complicated story. As a huge fan of First Contact, people should now go and watch it right now. Just go and watch it. You'll get the full details of the story that Seven left out.
Finish the episode first, and then watch First Contact.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, that movie is basically like a documentary for what Seven is talking about. On the bridge, Chakotay and Tom are briefing Janeway on the transverse bulkhead system they've put in place in case of a cataclysmic breach. And I noticed Chakotay here uses the phrase, most of us will be protected. Well, what do you mean most? Like, how many of the crew will not?
It's like, how much brain damage?
So I would just like to point out that, yes, Tom Paris, bad boyfriend. However, he did design this bulkhead system based on his knowledge of 20th century history. And then immediately after this, he's headed to the mess hall to do some triage. None of these things are his actual job.
Right.
He's just apparently one of the most, versatile officers in the history of Starfleet.
Yeah, they should have found somebody else to help the Doctor. I think that's a silly thing to take him off the bridge for. I mean, in general, not just in this episode.
I mean, it was Cass, but there's no Cass right now, so...
Just give him a nurse of some kind. It doesn't have to be
whip
Tom.
up a holographic nurse. Come on.
I would caution, though, relying on Tom's skills, because he was talking about using the bulkhead system from the Titanic.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Whose bulkheads were kind of infamously ineffective.
Okay, well, first of all, how ineffective are they if the ship is still pretty much intact sitting at the bottom of the ocean?
In two pieces.
Yeah, in two pieces, but the two pieces are in pretty good shape. Like, the designers of the Titanic did not anticipate some idiot running them full speed ahead into an iceberg. That's not something that you engineer for, I think.
I'm just going to counter with almost any naval warship of the 20th century is a better example of how to do bulkheads.
Oh, yeah. But I guess they used the one that most people would know the name. And maybe also was a little bit of a hint that things weren't going to go well even from here.
Oh!
You know?
Okay, kind of a good point, yes.
I did like how they sort of avoided talking about why it wasn't the same as the Titanic by him just saying, I made some improvements. And then he leaves. Like, we don't hear what those improvements are, which was pretty funny.
Should have studied an Iowa-class battleship. That's all I'm saying.
My notes here say Tom finally does something useful.
We go to 7 of 9 as she finds an unexploded Krenim torpedo in a Jeffries tube. And I liked when Tuvok said, he's on the way. And she just replies, arrive quickly. I'll note, this scene is exactly like the scene with Kes in Before and After, where she goes to the torpedo.
Okay, good.
Except with Kes, it's a lot smokier in the Jeffries tube. In the temporary sickbay, Tom is helping B'Elanna, telling her she'll be okay, and the Doctor calls him away, and he seems to be suffering from a lot of stress and is very testy. That's the Doctor, not Tom. Tom is just devil-may-care, as he always is. The Doctor explains to Tom how he had to shut the hatch on 2 stranded crewmen before the deck blew out. He rationalizes that it had to be done, but clearly we see it's having an effect on him. I kind of like this because it goes further to show the Doctor is actually evolving as a program, in that he's now seemed to be suffering the psychological effects of constant combat. In the Jeffries tube, Tuvok and Seven determine they can't move the torpedo, and worse, it's destabilizing. They've got about 2 minutes before it explodes. Seven want to determine the exact temporal variance of the torpedo, as it will help perfect the temporal shielding. Tuvok gives her an order to leave, but she continues to scan anyway, with Tuvok eventually starting to pull her away. But she's got it, at 1.47 microseconds variance, which again is exactly the same as in Before and After timeline.
Yeah, and Star Trek 47.
Oh.
But also in that Before and After episode, she was killed by the radiation in the tube, so that doesn't affect them?
I don't know if the radiation killed her or it blowing up killed her. Which one was it?
No, I think she was getting sicker and sicker while she was in there.
Oh, the chronoton poisoning, yeah. Oh, interesting. Yeah, no, those two are fine.
Mm-hmm.
As they escape, the torpedo explodes and Tuvok shields Seven from most of the blast. Day 65. Stardate 51268.4, just in case you were wondering, Kim.
Great.
Janeway's log. Voyager is beaten to crap. The replicators are badly damaged. Environmental controls are failing. 7 decks are uninhabitable. Most of the crew are now bunking together. And she's not sure what's more difficult to maintain, the systems or the crew morale. So I think this is maybe an interesting parallel between her crew and the morale problems and Kurtwood's crew doing this for 200 years and getting a little antsy about having to spend that time. So both of them are having morale problems.
Quite different, as it seems quite pristine and clean on the other ship.
Yeah.
They're just sick of that guy's crap.
Right.
Whereas here, we're all trying to hold it together and survive.
Trying to stay alive.
Mm-hmm.
We see the bridge is totally trashed, with Janeway working on repairs. She's even lost track of time, as Chakotay reminds her it's her birthday. He got her a present, but she tells him to put it back into the replicator, as they need all the energy they can get.
Yeah.
Off to Tuvok, who's shaving, and we see he was blinded by the explosion, and Seven is now aiding him. So, is she his seeing eye Borg? Or is that too tasteless a joke?
Oh, no. I mean, this was her fault, right? She sort of caused this by not following orders. Although if she hadn't delayed, they wouldn't have been able to get the temporal shields working.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
She tells him how she had an inspiration about the temporal shielding, figuring out they also needed to use the deflector. Tuvok wants to implement this plan immediately. And, he knows the deflector is useful for everything.
Absolutely.
There's a little light-hearted bonding with Tuvok, as Seven explains how difficult it is to share quarters with a single human. And both of them lament how humans do not have meticulous domestic habits. In other words, people are messy.
Depends on the person.
And also, if you're up on your Strange New Worlds, you know that there's a certain odor that humans and other races have that
Oh, right.
Vulcans kind of can't handle, yeah.
That the Vulcans don't like.
Smells human.
Mhm.
Yeah.
There's a call to battle stations, and Tuvok orders Seven to leave him and implement the new shields. On the bridge, Tuvok is still in charge of tactical, but is now using a tactile interface. I thought that was kind of interesting.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm also surprised that they have operational phasers at this point. But they don't have torpedoes, so either they ran out or the launchers are done in.
Right. The tubes are probably clogged with all the beams and debris.
On screen, we see it's yet another Krenim warship, and Tom takes evasive maneuvers as Seven works on the shields. She gets them online just in time as the Krenim fire, and we see one torpedo make a direct hit on Voyager. But Tuvok reports, shields holding, no damage. Janeway hails, and kind of gloats that they now have a defense.
Why would you do that? Why would you call and brag about it? Like, girl, you are in bad shape. I don't know what's happening.
Yeah. They get no response, and Janeway announces, we're going through their space, whether they like it or not. Which I think is the entire problem and why we're in this predicament. The captain has lost her mind.
Yeah.
Cut to Kurtwood and Oberst, and their ship is now at the Garana homeworld. And Kurtwood orders, prepare for total erasure of the species. And we see the beam hit the planet and the expanding shockwave. On Voyager, the Krenim ship is in pursuit, and Harry reports a spatial distortion is heading towards them. They can't outrun it, and for the second time, Janeway orders, all hands, brace for impact. Still love it. We go into an effect shot of the wave passing over the beaten-to-hell Voyager, and nothing happens this time. Tuvok reports temporal shielding has protected us. But outside, the Krenim warship has changed back into the small ship we saw at the start. Harry reports it appears to have the same markings, and it's still Krenim. More worryingly, Chakotay reports the entire region of space has somehow changed. It used to be filled with Krenim colonies, but now they're all gone.
Perfect.
Janeway heads to the astrometrics lab, telling Chakotay, it appears the Krenim Imperium has vanished, and I'd like to find out why. On the timeship, Oberst reports the entire Imperium has reverted to a pre-warp state. Kurtwood calls this impossible. The calculations were perfect. Then Oberst finds it, an anomalous temporal reading from a vessel called Voyager. It's generating a temporal field, and it was enough to throw their calculations off. Kurtwood just orders, take me to them. Day 70. Seven has gotten astrometrics working, and she shows the vast Krenim Imperium, and then shows the same region today, and it's a totally different configuration. The Imperium is just a few planets and a smattering of vessels, and Janeway figures it out. Someone altered history, and asks what caused the shockwave. Seven locates the origin of the Garana homeworld, and reports the planet is no longer populated. The instant the shockwave appeared, the Garana vanished. Janeway calls it a causality paradox. A single species is eliminated, and all of history changes as a result. Before they can do anything more, Kurtwood's ship arrives, and it kind of dwarfs Voyager. Kurtwood orders Oberys to take samples, 2 life forms, and then disable their shielding and initiate a temporal incursion. On Voyager, Harry reports the entire vessel is in a state of temporal flux. They exist outside spacetime. Tom says they're being scanned, then both he and Chakotay are beamed away. Kurtwood hails Janeway, and we learn his name is actually Annorax. They banter a little. Annorax tells Janeway he bears her no hostility, but she's diverted him from his mission. And Janeway figures it out. He's responsible for the changes in the timeline. He tells her, "Your sacrifice will restore the lives of countless millions."
I bear you no hostility, then proceeds to try to erase her from history.
I'm not an unreasonable person.
And then extremely unreasonable actions. Yep, we've seen this before.
They fire the weapon, and Harry determines the energy beam is pushing Voyager out of the space-time continuum. Janeway replies, he's trying to erase us from history. Seven has figured out the Krenim vessel can't exceed Warp 6. But Tuvok notes their structural integrity is impaired. If they go to Warp, damage to Voyager will be extreme. And Janeway orders the crew, clear the outer sections, activate the trans-warp bulkheads, and engage Warp. That's good, so most of the crew will be protected.
It's good when you can protect most of the crew.
Oh my god.
As they go to Warp, Tuvok reports they're losing the outer hull, and we go to an effect shot of probably the most disturbing part of the show, with lots of pieces of Voyager's outer hull tearing away and flying off.
Just flying like into the camera. It's wild.
Yeah. Day 73. Janeway is briefing the crew. They've lost 9 decks. Half the ship has been destroyed and life support is nearly gone. She tells them, asking you to stay is asking you to die. And she orders them, evacuate this vessel. She tells them to find allies, secure faster ships, anything to get home. She and the senior staff will stay on board as long as possible and try to rescue Tom and Chakotay. And she continues, saying, when we find each other again, and we will, I expect all of you to be in one piece, with some interesting stories to tell. Finally saying, good luck. Ugh. Her voice was almost breaking as she delivered that speech.
Mm.
Yeah.
Mulgrew was so good there. You could see how she was just putting on this false bravado. You know, like the phrase of the stiff upper lip? This is a fantastic example of it. And she's just holding it together. She played that so well. And we cut to the outside of Voyager's hull as dozens of escape pods leave the ship. And I actually counted 18. End of part 1.
I can't believe it's only day 73 and we have the rest of the year to go.
Really?
This is terrible.
I'm just going to say all the space shots were far too short. I mean, I assume it was a timing thing, but I thought they should have had more majestic flybys of all the ships.
Yeah, I imagine the budget was pretty high.
Yeah, we spent all the money on Scorpion, guys. There's nothing left.
That's true. Scorpion did take a lot of budget, yeah. I did take note that even here at the end, Janeway, she still looks pretty together, even though everything is a disaster. She still looks pretty good. She hasn't stripped down yet to the tank top, so I'm sure that's coming.
Did we get tank top Janeway? Do we get action Janeway? I can't remember.
We gotta. I'll be shocked. I guess we'll find out next week. All right, time for overanalysis, James. Go ahead.
Oh yeah, first thing. So why didn't the Krenim just destroy Voyager? I can only assume, did they want her as a prize ship? Or there was technology that they wanted to get a hold of? It seems the Krenim are quite advanced, so they could do it fairly easily. I'm assuming this was just an ego thing. They wanted to seize the ship. They wanted it as a prize.
I don't know. We don't get any indication of that. We do get the one thing with Kurtwood Smith saying that ship was, like, inert, meaningless, but...
The other guy, the other captain, he said he'd submit to the Imperium. He wanted it as a prize before it got too damaged.
I guess they're just able to get away. I mean, what's your answer, James?
Well, I'm not sure. They give the impression that it might be worth something to them. Why they're not just rocking up with as many ships as they can muster and just plastering Voyager.
I just don't think they care about them.
Also, I don't know how in touch this ship is with the rest of the Imperium at any one time.
That's a good point.
Oh, so the Imperium's like too dispersed.
Or like, since the time ship is always changing things, like it's kind of like the rule that the Federation has where you can't interfere, like the Temporal Prime Directive or something to that effect. Maybe the Krenim have a version of that where they don't interfere, or there's no interference between I don't know, something like that. But there was never, I never saw, and it never occurred to me that there would or should be any direct communication between the time ship and any other ships in the Imperium, because there may or may not be, depending on what the time ship does, there may or may not be an Imperium. So,
But I'm thinking of like the individual ships just attacking Voyager.
Oh, again, maybe it just speaks to Krenim haughtiness that they think they don't need support.
Oh, so, oh gosh, so you potentially ending up with, the Krenim together could destroy this, but the captains are all wanting, it becomes an ego thing. The captains are all wanting to be the one that captures Voyager.
Right.
Yeah. Addressing your point, I could see that the time ship wouldn't want to directly communicate with the Krenim because of the risk to modifying the timeline in a way they didn't expect. As Kurtwood does seem, or Annorax does seem kind of obsessed with the perfection of his calculations.
Right. And yeah, like, I don't know, maybe that would introduce an unstable element, or I don't know, but...
Yeah. Oh, I think it would. Next thing. If a temporal field throws off the calculations for the temporal incursions, wouldn't all the Krenim torpedoes be doing the same thing? Is the unwritten part of this episode the Krenim themselves are actually buggering up all of Kurtwood's calculations?
Well, I think it would show up on their scans and calculations, but I hope that's the reason.
Yeah, that would be like poetically.
Right.
Yes. I hope him putting them back into power is causing all of his stuff to break. I think that's genius.
Right. Next thing, following a Star Trek theme, is Annorax another version of Captain Ahab, as is the tradition in Star Trek?
Look, I think that goes without saying.
Yeah.
He's the best. He's all the best captains combined. He's Captain Ahab and Captain Bligh. Incredible.
Oh, yeah.
And his obsession with time makes him a little Captain Hookish. So we got all of them.
Oh.
Oh, man. I like how we don't address his motivation at all. He's holding that lock of hair, but we don't talk about it and we don't really explain it.
Yeah.
Right now, we just think perfection is his motivation.
And he makes the one comment about what about the colony on, what was it?
Kiana Prime.
Yep. And you know he's the bad guy, James, because he's wearing gloves. Remember, you brought that up in one of the Deep Space Nine episodes, I think.
Got the gloves. They're definitely bad.
He's wearing gloves, and he's not got aesthetically pleasing alien makeup.
No, he does not. He really just kind of looks like he has a skin condition.
Yeah, I mean,
I didn't think that about
Rick Baker, you really just threw some stuff at a mannequin head this week for these guys, and just said, "Here we go."
Run with it, people.
Do you remember, Attiba, the aliens in The Raven, where they actually look like they're wearing patchwork outfits, and then they have like the plastic things over their head?
Right.
That was a low point for Voyager alien costumes.
I will say quick aside, season 1, Next Gen, universally reviled. We've talked about it. The one thing I will say, great aliens.
Agreed.
Season 1 of Next Gen, fantastic aliens. You had the wolf guys, the snake guys, great work.
Yeah.
Well, I always thought Deep Space Nine for the first 2 seasons really leaned into that, and then they were done. We didn't see lots of different races in the backgrounds, and I always felt that was something they should have lent into.
It just became less about that, is all.
I mean, and besides, between the Jemadar and the Klingons and the Ferengi, the makeup team on DS9 was working overtime. So
Exactly.
That's true. Okay. And I think my final point is, how come the Warp Core managed to stay online during all of this? Normally, the first time anything goes wrong, it's the computer goes out and they've lost warp.
Yeah, it's a funny set of things that break. Well, even when they say the main computer is offline, they still have computers. It's strange. I think they don't want you to pay too close of attention to that. Yeah. It's just like the ship is getting physically beat up, and we don't notice it, but the timeline keeps changing on them. So, we don't sort of focus on stuff like that. I mean, she does mention at the end that they're almost out of life support. So at least she does talk about that. But it is mostly about physical damage.
That makes me think of something. Maybe I'm looking at the wrong way. That the Krenim, although they seem to have a certain level of technology, maybe the fact that they don't actually have really destructive weapons. Their torpedoes aren't like Federation photon torpedoes.
Yeah.
These are like high explosive shell. They're hitting Voyager and they're blowing bits off it. They're damaging it. So they don't actually physically have the ability to rock up and just take out Voyager in a single shot. It's more of a case of it's pecking Voyager to death with small explosions.
Yeah. It does seem like this race has all its eggs in the time weapon basket.
Yeah.
So, they can get through shields and explode, but they don't do that much damage.
Right.
Yeah, it's like it gets through the shield, but then it's just sort of a projectile weapon.
Yes, right. Yes, exactly.
Yeah. Okay, sure.
Okay, that's it for me. Attiba, over to you.
I don't really have any over-analysis, although one of the things that I touched on is how Chakotay has changed.
Yeah.
I will say the emergence of Dark Janeway I appreciate a lot.
Yeah.
It's been coming.
Apparently, so this is around the time where we start to take Neelix's more annoying characteristics and give them to the Doctor for some reason. Like,
oh my God. I so agree with you. Yes.
So we're going to go ahead and take the character who's clearly the breakout character of the show so far and like saddle him with a bunch of stuff that made people not like the character that was supposed to be the breakout character.
Mm-hmm.
I know that's a little strange to me, but that's more of a writing point, not so much an over-analysis point.
Yeah.
I mean, again, I have stuff, but I think I have to wait until the next episode.
Okay. I did make a point in the previous season where it seemed like the Doctor and Neelix had flipped, where the Doctor had a couple of terrible episodes where he was super annoying, and I was like, I'd rather watch Neelix at this point, which I think, our listeners still don't believe I said, but I did say it. And you're right, they've like given him some of the annoying traits of Neelix, which is not a great decision.
Well, the Doctor's evolving, and clearly his program has decided that Neelix is the character he wants to evolve into.
Oh, gosh.
Clearly.
Okay, that's a bad decision, too.
Yeah, don't do that.
I don't have a lot in my overanalysis. I do have a couple things. One is, did we do this to ourselves by ignoring the warning signs? And we talked a little bit about it. We were pretty flippant with that first ship we ran into, and then we never really tried to get out from there. It's possible we couldn't after the first time incursion happened, because it could have made their space so much bigger. They had no ability to back their way out. But it does seem like we were Janeway again was a bit reckless, and we ended up in this situation.
I think, I mean, if this is an enormous area of space and they flew all the way into it without any problems and then started getting ambushed, that would explain why they're having so much difficulty getting out.
Well, think about every incursion might be making it bigger. It wasn't until the last one where it actually shrunk, but maybe before that it just kept actually getting bigger. So the problem may have gotten bad really quickly for them.
Yeah, maybe they were weeks or months in, and all of a sudden it's like, who are these guys who just keep on popping up and throwing torpedoes at us?
So So James, we might have to take a diversion here, but are you familiar with the video game Metroid, or the Metroid series, or the Legend of Zelda series?
Yes, but not a huge amount.
But basically, in those games, you amass a certain amount of abilities, and you might, when it comes time to face the next more difficult section of game, you start off that section with an overestimation of your abilities. I think maybe Voyager just beat two of the biggest bosses in the Delta Quadrant, and they're like, whatever, what are you doing? What do you got for us, Krenim? We just took down 8472 and the Borg. We're bulletproof right now.
Oh, bitten by hubris. Interesting take.
Okay. We talk about that a lot with various aliens, so I guess it would make sense it would happen to us too at some point.
Janeway got too cocky.
Why don't we remember anything Kes told us?
That's the huge one. That one we just have to write off with a wave of the hand.
They are messing with time, though, so maybe the incursions change things to the extent that they never got the word from Kes, but I don't know. It's really hard to start talking about stories like this when things get timey-wimey, you know?
Yeah, for sure. Because also in Kess's version of events, there was no 7 of 9.
Yes.
So it's maybe an entirely different timeline, which they did address, that they were just talking about their one particular timeline. Yeah.
Okay. I think that could get us out of it. The incursions modify the timeline. So maybe the torpedo event always happens. However, the events leading up to that change constantly because Annorax keeps on modifying it. So what Kess, maybe after one of these incursions, Kess's memories are, we get shot by this one ship with a torpedo, and that's it. Mm-hmm. She doesn't know who the race were, what was happening, or anything. She just knows about this event. So in that instance, she wouldn't be able to tell them anything because the memory would just be, we get shot at this point in this date, and that's all she knows.
Right. Okay. That's all I have in my overanalysis. If I move on to women in the future, I don't have anything to say. There's nothing specific here, really, that would make sense to talk about. And in Janeway's leadership corner, we've also sort of talked about this already, in that it does look like the really egotistical leader searching for perfection is forgetting that that's not what other people around him want, and that he needs to find a way to make sure that they're still willing to do what he wants them to do. And it doesn't seem like he's interested in that. He's just striving for perfection, and may also have a hidden agenda that we don't know about yet that is causing him to not think clearly. So it'll be interesting to see that. But over 200 years, I would argue, I think they would have gotten upset a little bit sooner. I'm not really sure they would just keep going unless they'd never been close before, right? Yeah. Maybe they were always like slowly creeping up, like maybe they were 50% and then 51%, and it wasn't until they actually got into the 90s that everybody was like, what do you mean we're going to keep trying?
Yeah.
But, we don't get that much detail.
That would make a lot of sense if every 10 years they're advancing it. So after 200 years, their last incursion or the one before was like they were 99.4 and now they're 98. And it's like, yes, we're almost there.
Yeah. And then, of course, is Janeway too reckless is the obvious question. And yes, she is. That seems pretty clear. So let's go to rating. It's sometimes hard because it's a two-parter. We haven't seen the end yet. I mean, we all sort of know where we go from here. I don't remember the details, of course, but we'll do a rating at least of this half. So thumbs up, thumbs down, or neutral. Attiba, you go first.
Thumbs up on this half.
Okay. James?
Absolute thumbs up. I think this is a great building episode for what comes in the second part. I think it's solid. There's a few little things you have to wave your hand at.
Well, sure. It's Star Trek. Yeah. Normal.
But I think we've done a good job of headcanon our way around them. But yeah, I thoroughly enjoyed this. Kurtwood Smith doesn't actually appear that much in it, but he gives this sense of, if you like, almost detachment as this captain, so focused on, what he wants. And I really like that. And I think the fact it's a time-based story as well. And we get this awful beating of Voyager, which is just upsetting to watch. You want them to get a win. And Mulgrew is outstanding. It has to be a thumbs up.
Kurtwood Smith kind of plays the same character that he plays in that 70s show, I would say. That aloofness is reminiscent of that character as well.
Very different from Clarence Boddicker.
Yeah, just wait till next episode when he calls Chakotay a dumbass.
If only. That would be so funny. I give it a thumbs up too. It's very entertaining. Sometimes it's really amazing. Like we'll see a terrible episode of Star Trek and then we'll get something like this and you'll think, how did we do so much in 46 minutes, right? Yeah. So many good things and make it so enthralling. But this is a good example of a part one of a two-parter. It feels clearly like it was meant to be a season finale, much more than it does a to be continued until next week. I mean, you can really tell that was the plan.
Not only was it meant to be a season finale, I think it was meant to be a season-long arc.
Oh.
Year of Hell was just supposed to be something that was ongoing the whole season, and they shrunk it and decided to make it a two-parter, but a season-ending two-parter, but then Scorpion came along, so they had to boot it to a mid-season two-parter. We can talk about this more when we get to the second episode, but I think that actually makes it work better because it's a mid-season two-parter and they're not doing the thing where one guy writes the first part of the two-parter and another guy writes the second part of the two-parter.
and the second part is never as good as the first part.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, I'll have to do some reading about that to see if they were trying to do it over the course of the year, why they decided not to do it. And we talked quite a bit in the beginning of Voyager about how this show could have been a Battlestar Galactica, but that just isn't what Star Trek is meant to be. And if they had done this over the course of a year, it would have probably turned into something quite grim, and it would have veered away. So yeah, it'll be interesting to read what the reasons were.
If they'd done this over an entire season, it would have been horrific. I mean, it's bad enough watching Voyager getting beaten to crap and what's happening to the crew. I think that would be a bit much.
Agreed.
I would say maybe you could do a short arc of 4 episodes, but...
Yeah, 4 would have been okay. Yeah. Or even 3.
But I think that would be a bit much for a whole season.
Yeah.
I mean, when you guys get onto Enterprise, you can talk more about season-long arcs. There's a number of those on there.
Is that a Star Trek show?
It is. It actually is. I know you wouldn't know it, but...
Good try.
You wouldn't know it to look, but we're gonna make it happen, folks. It's gonna...
Nice. All right, well, before we wrap up, Attiba, anything else you would like to share?
No, just check out all my work at atibaroyster.com and check me out on Instagram at AtibaK. And you can find out what I'm up to over there. Oh, also, sorry. I'd be remiss, and my brother would kill me if I didn't mention the Teebs and Kid Phoenix podcast is coming back from hiatus and should be back up. By the time this episode airs, we should be back into new episodes, so you can check us out at Teebs and Kid Phoenix Versus on all the social medias.
Totally worth listening to. Great podcast.
All right, good. Thanks for that. I was going to mention your podcast if you forgot, so your brother wouldn't have been too upset. So we're all covered. All right, well, that wraps up Season 4, Episode 8. Come back next week for Episode 9 and the second part of this 2-parter, and Attiba will be here for that one as well.
Yes.
So if you would like to send us your own overanalysis of this or any episode, or if you just want to say something nice, you can email us at ReBingeIT@gmail.com. You can also reach out to us on Threads, Instagram, YouTube, and Blue Sky at ReBingeIT, or join the Facebook group, facebook.com/groups/Star Trek TTM podcasts.
Thanks for joining us on the ReBinge Star Trek Voyager podcast.
That's it for me.
And that's it from me.
And that's it from me.